This is the Rumors Are True podcast, brought to you by Pantheon Media Network.
Hey, this is Les Carlson from Bloodgood, and you're listening to The Rumors Are True.
Welcome, this is Jeremy Allen Gould, and I'm coming to you today to confirm between God and of man that the rumors you have all heard are true. I started this podcast to have a platform for the bands and artists that I've worked with in the past, as well as new musicians and artists that influenced myself and many others. The Rumors Are True podcast is an opportunity for the artists to tell their story their way. I'm still in the business of confirming rumors. I still love a good conversation, and I still freaking love music. So thanks again for joining me on this journey, and I hope you like what you hear. With that said, the rumors are definitely true.
When you say he's weak, he's a super freak. Don't believe that he can. Say God is dead, you lost your head, you got him swinging from a chain. You could be saved, but you're digging your grave. I'm begging you to come back. To come back. King of kings, the angels sing. I think the sky has right. That's the way, see him, that's the way, see him, that's the way. Psychedelic super Jesus. That's the way, see him, that's the way, see him, that's the way. Psychedelic super Jesus.
Hey, welcome to this latest episode of the Rumors Are True podcast. My name is Jeremy, and today I welcome the legend, Dale Thompson. You know Dale from the band Bride, as well as his solo project, Dale Thompson and the Boondocks. Awesome conversation with Dale, just super honored to have him on this podcast, hang out with me and talk to me about his journey through music, as well as his upcoming future. So I hope you enjoy this latest episode with Dale Thompson. Dale, what is up, my friend? Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Oh, very glad to be here.
Yeah, man, I'm super honored to have you on. Been a fan for a very long time. Saw you guys in Kaiser, West Virginia in probably 96, 97, in that range. It was awesome. My first metal show, incredible. To see you guys, it was wild. I remember it being so crazy. And, you know, for me being a teenager, you know, I was used to Petra and Carmen and all that world. And, you know, seeing you guys, it just changed my world. Such an awesome show, man. Just amazing to have seen you guys at that point.
Oh yeah, well that was good times back then for sure.
That's awesome, man. Well, let's talk about what's going on in your world currently, Dale. Tell me what's new in your world.
I'm really excited about my literary work. I'll have 9 books published before the end of the year. I've got 6 books out now.
Oh, cool.
And 3 more are coming out. It's part of a collection. So that they'll be out by July. So I'm very excited about that. And, you know, I'm sending out notices to people, hey, you know, support my work. But really, if you could just buy one of the 9 books, I would be grateful, because it shows the publisher there is interest and they'll want to continue to publish my stuff. But other than the literary stuff, I've got music going on now with, I've got a new project, which is the Thomas Thompson Earth Project has now morphed into a new project called Theothrone. So there is no more uh, Thomas Thompson Earth Project. So Theothrone is a project that Garrett Thomas and I are doing. And then We Are Resolute. We'll have an album coming out this year, along with the Boondogs, Austin Doldig, and myself, along with Ken Tucker and Graham. We're doing a blues thing. I've got 3 or 4 blues albums out, but this is me rebranding the band Dale Thompson and the Boondogs to just the Boondogs.
Oh, cool.
Uh, and we right now we just released a an album of our better songs with 2 new songs on it, so people can find that out there too. It's kind of a best of the Boondogs, but we will do a brand new album. It'll be out before the end of the year as well. And what else do I have going on? I have We've also rebranded Swingle and Thompson Ordained to just Ordained. So that's Randy Swingle and I will be putting out the album Ordained. So that's like 4 or 5 albums I've got coming out along with the books.
That's awesome.
So
That's the staying busy.
yeah.
It sounds like you're more busy now than you were back in the past.
Well, I'm trying to what I'm trying to do is to do less music and more writing,
Sure.
but I've got to get people on board with the writing, uh, work with the publishers and all that. So I'd rather not do independent book releases if I don't have to,
Sure.
but I'm prepared to do that. So we'll see what happens with the next books that come out.
Absolutely, man. Are you back in the U.S.? I know you were living out of the country for a while. Are you back in the U.S.?
Yes, I've been back with my wife. We've been back since uh, last November. So we've
Oh,
been
okay.
here over a year now. So we've been
That's
back. Yeah,
cool.
same area that I left. I'm back on. Yeah.
Very cool. Did you like living out of the country at all?
Yeah, I loved it. New Zealand is where we were at, and it's beautiful. It was 30 minutes from black sand beaches, and
Mm,
I remember we took our last drive out to the beach and got a good look at it because you never know if you're going to go back or not.
sure.
And we took pictures and stuff. And but yeah, that was a couple days before we left. But that was a nightmare in itself. The whole immigration thing for my
Mm,
wife, because she's a Kiwi. That's what they call people in New Zealand, and that took 2 years to get her approved to come over with me, even though that we had been married, for close to 10 years.
mm.
Um, and I was in the middle of doing a Petra tour when that happened as well. So that was
That sounds like a lot.
I had to go to Brazil and then fly back to New Zealand and fly to the States and fly back. It was a lot of flying in 1 month.
Yes, that sounds like it, man. Well, I'm glad you guys are here and in the place you want to be. That's awesome that God's opened that door for you. And let's talk about growing up for you, Dale. Kind of bring me through some of those records, some of those bands, maybe even concerts that kind of pushed you in the direction you went in.
Early on, Troy and I were more Southern gospel type people. We listened to a lot of Southern gospel because we're from Kentucky, and we are the bluegrass state. So we would play a lot of bluegrass music and country music. But as we got a bit older, I started working at a Zondervan bookstore when I was pretty young, and I was introduced there, from the music department to other bands that were not the Gaithers,
Mm,
it was, and they weren't even that much heavier, but the Imperials was one of the bands that uh, began to show me I could do more with my music than what I was doing, and Don Francisco and Dallas Holmes and Praise, and uh, even Rusty Goodman had a song or two that kind of sparked me into a different direction. And then I was introduced to Resurrection Band, and that band was just it was captivating for me
mm,
to hear that as Christian music, because I didn't want to accept it at first. Anything new to especially a young Christian, they're afraid that the devil's trying to lead them astray. But when I heard Kerry Livgren's Seeds of Change album, that's when I prayed and I said, God, I know you want me to do something. I don't know how to sing rock. So So if you want me to sing rock, you're going to have to do something. Matter of fact, won't you let me sing as good as this guy on the Kerry Livgren Seeds of Change album? And I didn't know who that guy was, but it was Ronnie James Dio.
Wow.
And so I started studying Ronnie and started checking out Brian Johnson's vocals and slowly listening to more secular music because I couldn't do what Glenn Kaiser was doing. I didn't have the rasp at the time, but now I've got rasp, and I wish I was singing clean again. So it just, it's like having curly hair and you want straight, and straight hair and you want curly. It's. So I had tried to sing along with people like Steve Walsh of Kansas and Stephen Perry and Steve Perry and some of those guys, but my voice wasn't that good. So by the time I got that caliber of vocal, I was already in a raspy zone. But yeah, we grew up listening to mainly things that we didn't play until later. And then after that, the influencers of Bride was everybody from Iron Maiden to Led Zeppelin to Aerosmith. So
Yeah.
we were listening to a lot of music, trying to figure it out because we didn't know what we were doing,
Sure.
and that's we didn't grow up as headbangers.
Yeah. Yeah. Was that looked down on in your world and your family to listen to that secular stuff?
Now, my family, my mom and dad have always supported my brother and I, and anything that we would do. They've been our biggest proponents, and they've really, mom used to help us with merchandise and stuff, and dad went on several trips with us. Took him all over the United States, California, and I think he went to Minnesota. We took him to Mexico and stuff at the time. The biggest opponents that we've ever had is the church. The church has been really hard on what we've done, and you end up as a Christian with spiritual PTSD, and it can make you very jaded and make you very cynical, and you can become quite a critical
Sure.
person. And I definitely did. Now I still feel effects from the way that our band, not only our band but other bands, when I talk to other guys out there, how they were treated by what they call the church. So I try not to hold a lot of animosity, but it's hard to after you are boycotted and
Mm,
protested, and people tried to defame you and stuff. We never had that issue in the secular world at all.
sure.
They listened to our stuff and was quite happy with it. We just we got into Christian music and followed that path rather than going secular. But we took a very rough road along the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. I believe it. Hey, this is Jeremy with the Rumors Are True podcast. We'll pause for a word from our sponsors. Stick around. You don't want to miss what's next. Let's talk about the beginning of Bride. Kind of bring me through I know you kind of mentioned your brother and yourself getting into certain music and not knowing what you're doing. Just kind of bring me through the beginning of Bride and what that was like.
Well, yeah, we were grasping at straws and hoping that we were able to pull ourselves to the next level of whatever it was we were supposed to pull ourselves to. But we were like any other band. We had to pay our dues. We had to play the worst of the worst shows, and you know, always begging people to play,
Mm,
uh, and then not getting paid for it. And that's even happened recently with us. We played a whole tour in Brazil and didn't get paid for it.
wow.
So it still happens today where people think, well, they're Christians, it's okay, we can just rip them off. But we had to learn, the hard knocks of music because we didn't know anything about it. Then we had to figure out, what the record companies are supposed to do and what they do and what they didn't do, even though they were supposed to do it. So yeah, we had to go through that. That's another rigmarole that we mess with, and that's why we left the industry as so-called industry.
Hmm.
It, the support was a lot of lip service, but it's kind of like put your money where your mouth is. Stop telling us how good we are and do something.
Hmm.
You signed us,
Yeah.
and we're just a trophy piece now. Let's give Bride a Dove Award and tell everybody that we've got a band with a Dove Award and many bands with Dove Awards, and the Dove Award doesn't mean anything. I didn't even pick mine up, so
Yeah.
I just so yeah. I mean, it's I don't want to act like everything was bad because we had great times. A lot of different band members come and went. Some went angrily, some went
Hmm.
satisfied, some left on their own, but it always ends up where it's Troy and I in the
Yeah.
end.
Yeah. At the beginning, spiritually and musically, when you formed, what was, I mean, it sounds like obviously you wanted to go the Christian music route. Was it just, I mean, I assume you just wanted to make music that anyone would like, but was it difficult in the beginning stages to kind of get the rep from the secular crowd, or was it kind of bring me through what that was like?
Well, I've never written a Christian song. I don't think sat down to write a
Sure.
Christian song. I just sit down and write a song, and then write lyrics, and then I try to find Christ in the song,
Yeah.
and then sometimes you have to move things around, because I didn't want to be considered a secular band, but I also didn't want to be a cheesy band either that thought you had to throw the name of Jesus in every song
Hmm.
because then that starts becoming like an overkill thing, like you're trying to justify what you're doing rather than being an artist and being a poet and being a writer. You want the liberties to write and you want people to interpret your music. You want them to find something in there that maybe you didn't even know was in there. People would say, "What's this song about?" And I'm like, "Well, I probably wrote it for one reason, but you're going to find out that it's another message in there, and that message was to you." So I'd rather not tell people what I'm writing about. Let them find
Sure.
their own message in that. Each song is like a journey, into the heart of an artist. And at different times of your life, you're writing about different things and different emotions and different moods and different spiritual level or whatever you're going through, depression, whatever. Uh, and you just really want people to find the meaning of the music because then that's when it means more to them
Sure.
because you're basically giving birth to this music and handing it off. You're people are adopting your music and you've adopted it out. It's still your music, but it doesn't belong to you in the same way as when you were creating it.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Um, in the 80s, a lot of bands sprouted up, obviously, alongside you guys. What's your perspective on that time, and what was that like for you guys not to just be alone, in terms of, you had Striper and you had Blood Good and you had all these other bands. What was that like to be a part of that burgeoning scene?
Well, we really didn't think that we were part of that scene so much because I saw bands like Striper and Blood Good and Deliverance and Messiah Prophet, those type of bands, Jerusalem, Barnabas. I saw those bands as bands that were already established and were out there, and I just felt like that we were climbing up a very steep slope for the longest time, and probably when it dawned on me that we were in that group of bands that people talk about was probably when we recorded Everybody Knows My Name
Hmm.
and it went out on the Best Of album. And it went like 15 or 18 weeks as number one on the Christian rock charts. And then we released Same Old Sinner, and that song exploded too. That was the change in Bride that took us from the, the super heavy arena into more of a groove style band where we were trying to write catchy hooks and not be heavy for the sake of
Hmm.
heaviness.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you ever feel any tension between like being a ministry band or a rock band in a ministry area and the music industry in itself?
There's always tension with the industry because once you start talking about money, you get people that become protective of what they value, and yeah, we had a lot of tension with the record companies. I didn't like the record companies at all. I didn't never thought they may in their mind had our best interests, but most of the time they would do their own thing and wouldn't entertain anything that we suggested. We had to fight tooth and nail, not the label, but we had to fight tooth and nail to just to have the song "The Worm" called "The Worm." They wanted to change the name of it. Well, that was more Dino Elefante, but we just had to just tell them, listen, this is it. This is
Yeah.
It's just like having a producer. We've had producers, and they all want to contribute to the band because they want writing credits on your album. And we learned that early on, that producers will give you all these ideas, and it's not necessarily going to make your songs better, but it's going to put their name on there as partial writing credit. So we were convinced we had to examine our songs even more so, because uh, it was our songs. I didn't want anybody else's name on them.
Yeah.
And if it was a good idea or a great idea, then we were all for it. But we just saw making these changes for the sake of changes. So you become somewhat protective of your work and everything. But we we didn't have a lot of inner struggle as a band, and didn't really have any struggles with the secular market. It was basically the Christian market that was constantly hammering. I mean, you get 100 letters, because we were getting letters back then, and I would answer them one at a time. We'd handwrite letters back, and then you get 100 letters saying, you guys touched my heart, you blessed me, I got saved because I listened to you guys or whatever. And then you get that one letter that somebody just berates you and cuts you down, and what that does, it's almost like setting fire to the other 100 letters, because that's what sticks with you. The accolades and praise never sticks with you, but the hatred definitely does.
Sure. I'm sure that's absolutely difficult. It's kind of like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't type of world. Yeah, man.
It is. Yeah.
I can't imagine. I've heard this many times on the podcast about certain artists and bands being, put in that position where it's like, where your bread and butter is, but at the same time, do you really want to eat at the table? So I definitely understand that. When you listen to the early Bride records, what stands out to you the most?
That I was able to sing the way that I sang, that it's not human. And I look back, I have no idea how I did some of the stuff I did. So that blows me away, because I know, now we tune down a whole step. My voice is much raspier, much grittier. And I guess it's just age. I mean, I'm not a spring chicken. But I guess it's sort of like, an athlete back in the day. You're like, man, I ran that in 4 seconds, and now it takes me 8. So it's you don't sprint like you used to. You sort of have to pace yourself. But and also I look back and I just can't even believe that Troy and I wrote such good songs. We wrote a lot of really good songs, catchy tunes. And then the variety of music that we've produced over the years, hundreds of songs that we've recorded, not just the Bride stuff, but the independent Bride stuff too. There's a whole selection of independent Bride material that didn't go through record companies, that's out there. So yeah, I think the volume of work that we've done, it impresses me. It impresses me when anybody does it. Some bands record 5 albums and they're legendary. Well, I don't know if we're legendary, but we've got almost 20 albums out, I think. So we must be approaching something, something epic.
Yes, I totally agree with you. And from my perspective, I feel like you guys are legends, and I mean that in the best way possible. You guys have, set the template for a lot of bands and just music in general for people to enjoy over the years, including myself and maybe people that listen to this podcast. So, not to put you on a pedestal or anything, but I definitely would consider you guys legends, and I mean that in a humble way. Snakes in the Playground, it's considered a classic, obviously. Did you know you guys were making anything special at the time? Did you feel anything special when you were recording that?
We did. There was an energy in the studio that was unlike any other time that we had been in. We had just come off of Kinetic Faith, and that was a hard album to make. Um, but then on Snakes, we brought Plinky, the producer, in, and he was just so casual and laid back, and he's very easygoing, and he asked us what we thought, and he wasn't commanding or demanding, and he made it a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So recording Snakes in the Playground was a very fun record to do. And we wanted to do, we did Fistful of Bees with him, but we wanted to do more. But there seemed to have been some sort of falling out, and I don't know what it was about. Other than what I heard was that the record company at the time didn't pay him, so he wasn't going to work with us anymore,
Mm,
and that kind of bummed me out because we had nothing to do with who got paid or whatever. We're just musicians
sure.
and singers. So that kind of bummed me out. But yeah, that was a very good time. We've had really difficult times recording albums too. Like This Is It, man, that was a nightmare. I literally had to go and threaten to break down the door of the studio
Mm,
to get the guy to finish mixing the album. He had sat on it for so long.
wow.
Um, so yeah, that was. You just run into all sorts of things, and you look back and think, man, what a wild life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you mentioned Kinetic Faith being a hard record to make. What was so hard about it?
Well, we had just changed styles. Of course, we went from playing the heavy stuff into doing that what I consider groove rock. But we we had a new bass player, we had a new drummer, and they're the ones. Rick and Jerry really made it easy. It was sort of just fighting ideas that were floating around the studio from the producer that we just didn't want to entertain a lot of ideas. It was sucking up so much time.
Mm,
It started off a bit rough too because we had we had the drums in one area of the house, and the whole room that the drums were in was mic'd up, and it was for ambience or something. I don't know, but the drummer spent all day beating on the drums to get the right sound for drums, only to have to change his heads
mm.
afterwards before we even recorded. So that to me, stuff like that didn't make any sense. Um, so you live and learn. We didn't do that again. That was a Debbie Downer going into it. So
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
I mean, you're already like we lost a day just on
oh
drums.
no,
So
I can't imagine. That's probably super frustrating. Um,
yeah.
what was the reaction and the reception like for both these records, kind of from your perspective? I feel like they did fairly well. Kind of what was that like for you guys?
Well, Kinetic Faith, it did well. It sold very well. I don't think Star Song was that interested in us, but Pure Metal wasn't interested in us when we first got signed to our first deal, but they saw the reaction of the fans and signed us. Star Song probably wasn't that interested because we did a kind of a live audition for them. We had Des Dickerson there, who was Prince's old guitarist, and we had Mike Kyle there, who I think had managed Imperials or Petra or somebody. I don't remember. But they come up to a club here in Louisville called the Toy Tiger, and we put on a show for them there. And we Des was used to the craziness because he had played with Prince, but uh, I think Kyle didn't know that we were going to set the drum kit on fire in the middle of the set. So that they just probably thought we were too much for them. But then when they released the best of album, End of the Age, and they released those two songs, Everybody Knows My Name and Same Old Sinner, and they skyrocketed and people wanted to hear us. They signed us
Mm,
to a 3 album deal, which we did our time there and we moved on. So, but yeah, it was the reaction was great, and if it wasn't for Star Song, who knows if we'd have got signed or not. But during that whole time, there was that that rumor going around that I was going to be Stryper's new singer
Mm.
because Michael had left. So Star Song somehow set up a tour with Stryper for us and hadn't didn't even have it confirmed. We got no response back from Stryper at this point, or from their management. I would say that Stryper didn't even know who we were probably. But we ended up the leap of faith and took off driving up to Boston for the first show of the tour because we knew it was there at a place called Dillinger's, and we showed up, and hey, they were expecting us, so that was good.
Wow.
But Star Song helped set that up, and then after that, Michael left Stryper. Stryper contacted me. I flew out to California, did rehearsals with them, did a show at Knott's Berry Farm with them, and then decided it's probably not a good fit for me right now
Mm.
because Bride was on its way up, and if what I was concerned, Stryper was having some issues. They did the album Against the Law,
Hmm.
and people turned on them like they were Frankenstein's monster or something, pitchforks and lanterns and torches. They were mad at like Stryper did something on purpose.
Mm.
Um, so I said, nah, I probably don't need to be in that controversy. But what the record company did, which Star Song did, which was genius, is they did a newspaper. It says, "Is Dale leaving Bride for Stryper?" And they handed it out for free at Cornerstone that year.
Mm.
Well, that perpetuated everything that came afterwards, and it was huge after that. The band just exploded, and we were doing 100 dates a year, and selling merchandise like unbelievable.
That's
So
amazing. Um,
yeah, so that's
did you wind up
pretty
talking with the
good.
Striper guys about that? Or what? I mean, what were their thoughts on that in
On what
regards
part of
to
it?
Star Song saying that was going to be the case that you're joining Striper? Did
Oh, well, by then everything had already died down. I mean, I'd already considered the Striper thing. I was living with Robert out there that week that we rehearsed. So it was just, I mean, Star Song was, they knew what was going on, but when I said no, I'm not going to do it, they were quite happy because now they had another media tool they could use to
yeah,
promote the
that
band.
makes sense. That makes sense. Looking back, did you feel any pressure to compete musically with mainstream bands, or was there any sort of? I know you mentioned some of those influences earlier. Were you just, was there any? Yeah, I guess any competitiveness in your mind. Hey, I've got to do this, or I got to sound like this, or anything like that.
Oh, always. I was always a competitive person. I boxed for 20 years and powerlifted professionally for 30. So I was always in competition mode. And when Bride around the Kinetic Faith, Snakes, and the Scarecrow Messiah album, uh, I still think we were the best loved band on the on planet Earth because every time we would play with somebody as an opening band, they said we're never going to play with you again. And that's not being prideful. That's
Sure.
just what we went out like Mike Tyson. You know, uh, we come out and we just annihilated, and that was a lot of fun because saw a lot of disappointing looks from bands that we opened for standing on the side of the stage, knowing they had to follow that. Matter of fact, we played Norway one time, and we played in the middle of the day, and we had mosh pit going, and it was going really, really wild. And then Margaret Becker came on right after us, and then people were chanting "Bride" during her show.
Oh,
Well, going back to the hotel, I was sitting next to Margaret on the bus going back, and she said, "I will never, ever, ever play with you guys again." Of course, she was kidding, but it was like
sure.
it just didn't fare
Yeah.
because our crowd was still there and being boisterous
Yeah.
and stuff.
Absolutely. Well, I know Bride, wasn't afraid to evolve musically over the years, but what prompted the shift in the sound in the '90s? I know it definitely was different. And kind of what was what was the perspective like for you? Were the fans accepting of it? Was it what was that a difficult time?
Uh, Pretty much. Um, snakes. healed all wounds pretty much. When we come out with Kinetic Faith, there was some pushback from the thrashy type people and the hardcore metalheads who said that we were selling out. But it wasn't selling out. We were just trying to be
Mm,
relevant. And at the time, for me to sit down and I couldn't listen to stuff like Slayer and some of that stuff. It was just atrocious music to me, and it still is to this day. I can't stand thrash music, and I didn't want to be associated with it, and I didn't really like the real hardcore stuff either. Uh, and so Troy and I wanted to do what we wanted to do.
sure.
We didn't. And if we brought the fans on board, that was fine, and if we got new fans, that was fine. But we needed something else because the shows wasn't rolling in with those first three albums. It wasn't until we changed styles that the shows started rolling in. We were playing with Michael W.
Wow.
Smith and Audio Adrenaline and Newsboys. I mean, we were playing with the people that were true contemporary Christian artists, and here we were, the rock band, somehow getting on gigs with those guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had to make a change, or I don't think Bride would have did maybe one or two more albums.
Was that difficult to play with those bands? You mentioned Margaret Becker and Michael W. Smith. Did you want to play with them, or did you want to play the rock shows, or what was your viewpoint on that?
Well, we didn't have to do anything except what we did. We didn't tune it down for them. Uh, I just remember we were in Brazil and we opened for Michael W. Smith, and I mean, it was insane. I mean, we had multiple thousands of people at the show, maybe 50 to 80,000 people at this show, and we rocked the house. And then Michael came on and he started with his piano. Well, as good as Michael W. Smith is, he started to set a bit slow.
Mm,
So it sort of knocked the wind out of the entire
sure.
event, if you ask me,
Sure.
because we should never have been paired up to begin with, but we were.
Yeah.
So,
No, it makes complete sense. Um,
yeah.
was there a record that you've put out that you felt misunderstood in?
In the beginning, Drop was completely misunderstood, and it was short changed with the reviewers, and it got bad reviews, and a lot of the fans were very hostile about it. But the funny thing is that over time, the same reviewers have come to me and said they were mistaken, and a lot of the fans come back and said it is now their favorite album
Mm,
that we've done because we did change quite drastic. It was probably more drastic on Drop than it was from going from the super heavy to the Snakes era. When we went in and did Drop, um, that was what was it, very intentional on our part to do sort of an acoustic thing. Um, but I didn't know that people were going to be offended that we changed styles again. But when Brad changes styles, it doesn't mean forever.
sure.
Anybody that has followed our career knows that we always get back to our roots, but we're capable of writing multiple styles of music. It's just like when we do our secular cover songs, we've probably got 100 secular cover songs covered, and you do everything from REM up to Judas Priest, so it shows we're adaptable.
Yeah, absolutely. What kept you guys going when other bands from your era stopped?
We just had a heart for it. We knew what we were called to do. We were sacrificing a lot, sacrificing uh, time. Anytime you're with the band, you can't be other
Mm,
places. Um, so yeah, I mean, we were willing to make those sacrifices. We felt like we had one more in us type thing. Like we got one more, let's do another one. We got one more in us. So yeah, that pushed us. Is that you're you maybe not in your prime, but you're still doing a good job. So why put the brakes on?
was there ever a moment when you almost walked away?
Multiple times, and that's what I'm doing now. This is the last year of the band, so it's definitely time. Multiple times I've started to walk away from it, and then God would bring me back. But I've got a lot of reassurance this time that it's the right decision.
What do you feel about the legacy and the impact of Bride over the years, from your perspective?
I think that we've touched a lot of hearts. I think the Lord has worked through us, and we've brought a lot of people to repentance, and we've uh, a lot of people have been transformed by the renewing of their minds because they've listened to the lyrics and understood the spirit of the band. Uh, but I do think that all of us, our time is very short
Mm,
from that era, even though some are still kicking. And I would rather go out on my own terms, which I feel like that I am, rather than you just can't do it anymore because nobody's listening.
sure.
Uh, so to put it into perspective, uh, if you sell $200,000 or 200,000 albums 30 years ago, and you do good to sell 2,000 now, that's a sign that you're done.
Mm, yeah, I get that. I get that.
And it's the same with the shows. I used to be able to pick up the phone and book 30 dates like right now, and now I don't know who to call,
Mm, that's difficult,
and
man.
they're not calling us.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're not calling us.
absolutely.
So, and at our age, a lot of people thought we were going to be done when we were about 40.
Mm.
So I've did this for 20, almost 23 more years. So now they're saying surely they're done now. So
No, I get
anyway,
that, man. What
yeah.
what's one of the most memorable shows, live shows that you can remember that maybe you're most proud of, or just a moment where you looked around and where you're like, oh, I can't believe this is happening.
Well, it's going to be Brazil. The first time we went to Brazil, we played to 100,000 people in a
Wow.
soccer stadium, and that was pretty insane because we got there and I'm like, well, this is ridiculous. Look how big this place is. This is stupid. And I seen they were putting boards down on the grassy area of the soccer stadium to protect the field, and I'm like, well, that's not needed. You're going to have maybe 500 people standing against this metal gate thing. But we were downstairs in the locker room and kept hearing this sound, and I thought it was a train station nearby.
Mm,
So Jerry, our drummer, went up to look to see. He was going to find out if there was a train station nearby. But there's no train stations, no
sure.
subways in Brazil. And he come back and he said it's the crowd. They're making that noise. They're roaring up there. And I'm like, what? He said it's full. It's packed. I'm like, no. And I didn't even look before I went out on stage. I waited behind the curtain, heard our intro, and I come out, and that's the first time I
Mm.
saw all the people. And that was just smitten with Brazil at that point.
Did you have any nerves in that moment?
No, I never did get nervous playing music, regardless if it was a small or big crowd. It's like I don't get embarrassed either. I was talking to my wife about that the other day. I said I don't get nervous, I don't get embarrassed, and I'm not afraid of anything. I don't know what that means.
Sure, sure. Well, that's cool. I mean, I know playing in front of that many people definitely can be difficult for a lot of people, but that's awesome that you rose to the occasion, and it's obviously a memorable moment for you. Did you feel? I mean, did you guys wind up selling more records in that area? You think than anywhere?
Well, that's the funny thing about Brazil. You don't know how many records you
I'm
actually
sure. I'm
sell there.
sure.
Everything's pirated. We were going down the street on the way to the another time a venue, and there's probably 100 booths up with merchandise, selling illegal pirated merchandise. So I saw this really cool picture. It was me from the show we did the year before on a T-shirt. I'm like, I'd like to get one of those. So I jump out of the van. I said, stop here. I said, hey, can I get one of those shirts? And they're like, however many rias it was. And I'm like, no, no, no. I'm the singer of the band. That's me. And he wouldn't give me a shirt. I'd have to buy it. So I got back in the van and we went on to the show. But yeah, you're pirated so much. And I asked one time how many albums they think that we had sold in Brazil at that time. And they said it was over 250,000 records would have
Wow.
been sold through pirating in Brazil alone.
Wow. Hey, this is Jeremy from the Rumors Are True podcast. Hang right there. Here's a word from our sponsors. So obviously, the success of Bride, you kind of went in a different direction with your blues rock that you kind of mentioned, solo stuff. What kind of brought you into that? That pushed you into that realm?
Well, I've never been that big of a fan of heavy metal. I do like heavy metal, but I'm not like buying tickets to go see heavy metal bands. But artists like Tom Waits
Mm-hmm.
and Leonard Cohen, Nick Cave, those
Great band,
guys,
great artist.
yeah, I mean they were and still are, except for Leonard. But I mean, just incredible storytellers and writers and musicians and singers and all that stuff. And I wanted to do something that was more pure me, and so that's why I did the blues things. I did 3 blues albums years ago, and then I started the Boondogs up recently, um, and the Boondogs have evolved because just keeping band members and people. You ask them, they have to play for free because can't pay them. So you got guys volunteering their time, and I was just blessed to have Austin come along who said, I can mix, I can master, I can play guitar, I
Nice.
can play bass, I can put drums on it, and then you bring anybody else in you want, and let's do this. So he's done a fine job on the new album. I can't wait for people to hear it. We're still mixing and recording some stuff. I'm going to do one of Ken Tucker used to play with Larry Norman, and he's playing with the Boondogs now and doing his own solo stuff. He'll be at Immortal Fest this year. Ken will, and then. But yeah, and then I'm going to do one of Ken's songs. I think I'm going to change some lyrics around to fit the nitty gritty stuff that I do. But Ken will have a song on the Boondogs album, so it's going to be quite intense. It's a good blues
That's
album.
awesome, man. Are you more proud of Bride or your solo work?
Um, well, it's kind of two different worlds really, because when I say solo work, it's not just the blues albums I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
I did 3 projects with Miles Barfield, the Dapster Gentleman, Haunted No More, and Iron 501. I did multiple hundreds of songs with Miles that's been released. I think I did 6 or 7 Dapster albums and 3 or 4 Iron 501 and 3 or 4 Haunted No More albums are out there, and they're all different.
Sure.
Same guy I'm working with, but we did 3 different styles of music and did multiple albums. So I'm really proud of the overall uh, library of work that I've done. And if it wasn't for Brad, I wouldn't have had the name to be able to do this.
Sure.
Nobody would be wanting to work with me like they do now. But yeah, I mean, the Brad stuff stands out because it was my bread and butter. It's what Troy and I built and created, and that's one of the reasons too. When people think that I become a bit unmanageable when they're criticizing the band, they're not just criticizing me; they're criticizing my little brother.
Mm.
So that's a good way to get socked in the mouth. So I'm just saying that you can insult me, but you start insulting Brad, you're insulting my brother.
Absolutely,
So
man. Absolutely.
uh, yeah, so that's people wonder why we get so hostile sometimes, but that was the root of the matter there.
Sure. Sure. Of your catalog, what's your most personal album?
It's the most personal album. Oh man, I don't listen to anything that I've done except the recent stuff I'm doing. Uh, I don't know. There was some stuff on the Thomas Thompson Earth project that stood out for me because we did a couple of real epic
Mm.
songs. My work with No Other God, NOG, which Brazilian guys, that was they're the same guys that's playing on the new Bride albums. That was very memorable. I mean, just taking on challenges. I guess that I mean, not everything that I've done is great, and some of it I don't even think is that good. There's a couple projects I wish I hadn't have did,
Mm.
but you don't know where to put your voice at, So if you don't know where to put your voice, you're going to kind of be lackluster in your performance because you're kind of trying to find a spot that it slides into. And I've did some full albums like that with some guys that it just was not the right fit and didn't work. But I don't know. I guess I just have to keep going back to Snakes. And Snakes is not my favorite album, but it's the album that changed everything for us. So
Yeah. Is there a particular song? I know there's been hundreds, you said. Is there a particular song that stands out as maybe your favorite, or the one that look at as a moment where you are super proud of?
well, I have to just kind of think like what we do live because those are the songs that we've always liked the best. But we've been able to drop a lot of the songs from our set and replace them with other material. But the one song that we've never dropped is Hired Gun. So I think
Mm,
that's probably the song because I can really we can ad lib on that song live. I do lots of screams, a lot of Robert Plant sounding stuff, really mix it up and have a real freedom on stage with that song. We get to a certain point, and then it's a free for all. It's all just this is make it up as we go.
that's cool. Is there a record
Yeah.
that you've done that you would redo?
No, no, they are what they are. And if I would redo it, I would just get rid of it altogether.
Yeah. No, I get
I
that.
would just say, just discard the whole album.
What album took the biggest toll on you in general?
Um, Probably the biggest toll, Incorruptible. I just couldn't wrap my mind around that album even after we did it. It was a nightmare to record. Um, Even Skin for Skin was a tough one to record because I fired the drummer
Mm,
before he recorded the first songs and we were in the studio. So I had to find a drummer. So we had to find two drummers to replace him in the studio.
wow.
But Incorruptible, I just thought it was. I think Troy and I did a good job on it, but there was a lot of sloppy stuff going on and that some of the songs hadn't completely came together yet before we started laying them down.
Yeah. No, I get that. Um, you mentioned touring with a lot of bands. Was there any bands that left an impression on you over the years?
Definitely there was some. Striper on our first tour was amazing. Our first tour with Striper. Michael was we're the same age, and Michael was like almost like a dad. I mean, he was like taking care of the band, making sure we were comfortable.
Mm,
We had everything we needed. So that was mighty cool, and we formed some friendships there. Petra, those guys, just incredible
mm.
human beings. Les Carlson, incredible human being. Jamie Rowe, the guys in Narnia. We just
Great
we
band.
just play
Love
with
that band.
them. We become such good friends. I talk to guys in the band, Jonathan and CJ. Jonathan almost every day. Talk to Christian once in a while. But yeah, they're just spectacular guys that I would love if they could come to the States. I might even do a tour with them if
Let's
they
do it.
came.
I love Narnia. They're such a great band.
Yeah,
Faith has
yeah.
always been a part of your music, obviously. How's your perspective on writing faith-based lyrics changed over the years?
Well, my theology's changed. I think everybody's theology changes over time as you explore the world and you see things. If you have an opportunity to get out of your home state or even out of the county you live in,
Mm,
and I don't mean going to Florida for a holiday either. I mean going out and seeing the world and talking to Christians around the world. You get a different perspective on Christianity because there's other forms of Christianity other than the American Christianity. The Christians in Germany don't necessarily think the same way as the Christians in the United States, and the Christians in Brazil don't think the same way as
mm,
the Christians. We have this one core thing, and that's Jesus, and that's what we base our belief on is that Jesus. He was born, he died, he was buried, he resurrected, and his return, and that's where the similarities of a lot of it stops, and then it goes into different genres some are faith based and some are prayer based and some are this based or whatever. But I think that my writing started to change when my theology started being transformed
Hmm.
by the Holy Spirit to where I no longer was this young Pentecostal boy. I was coming into more of a fullness of God's nature and His character, His principle and His who God was. It wasn't just God; it was Father. It was not so easy to call God Father in the early days. We called Him God, but then you get over that, and then you start calling Him Father. And Jesus is your Savior, but He's your brother, and then you see the intimacy that happens, and that has nothing at all at that point to do with theology. That has to do with relationship
Mm.
and understanding your identity in not only in God, and I'm saying God as all encompassing being, but also in the family of God, which is the body of God, which is the church. Um, so yeah, I mean, definitely my writing changed, my mindset changed, my thinking changed.
Yeah. What kind of response from fans has meant the most to you personally?
Um, what really gets me every time is when somebody says, "I've never written to you before. I saw you in concert 20 years ago. Never wrote to you, never said a word to you, but I've bought all your albums. You're a huge inspiration to me, and I just felt like I should tell you that you changed my life."
Mm.
And that's somebody that's never hit me up on Facebook. They're not my Facebook friend. They're not some weird stalker. It's just some guy that whatever we did stuck with them for this many years, and they thought now was the time to let us know. And that's happened multiple times. So that really gets me more than somebody saying, "Oh, I've been a fan and all this. I'm on your Facebook, and yeah, I've been to 1,000 concerts." And I say, I mean, that's fantastic. Thank you for doing all that. But the guy I didn't know about, that's the guy that impresses me.
Sure.
That gets me, or gal.
Sure.
You know,
Is there any newer artists or bands that you've been listening to that you're into?
I listen. I watch a lot of reels, so I see bands on there all the time. But I always forget their names. I'm not listening to anybody in particular right now. No one band. If I want to just chill out and mellow, I'll put this Icelandic band on called Circus
Sigur
Ross.
Rós, I love them. Great band. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just put them on, and it's good background
Hmm.
music, and it's almost worshipful
Yeah.
type music. And I think he sings about volcanoes and grass and birds and
Yeah.
stuff. But yeah, I love that band, and I'm more into the ambient stuff now. I mean, as much as I love Tom Waits, I don't sit around and listen to a full Tom Waits
Sure.
album, but I do have to get an injection of Tom once in a while. But just writing or chilling or just wanting a peace of mind, I go to the ambient
Absolutely. Have
material.
you heard the band Hammock?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love them. Um,
Yep, Hammock. I like a lot of Steve Roach's stuff. Brian Eno
he's
has a
great.
lot
Yeah,
of
Music for Airports is great. Yeah.
music out.
Yeah.
So it's there's so much music out there. I'm just blessed to still be relevant to some people with the majority of the talent that's out there. And I'm not talking about somebody that can sit down with an AI and throw their lyrics in and say they just did a song, because that's not music. That's you just created something like music, but it's not.
Sure.
I think there's got to be some blood, sweat, and tears. And I'm not against AI at all. I love AI. I love some of the songs that people are coming out with, but I've had people. I was selling my stories to this guy for a while, and they would read it on his podcast, and he found out that I was a musician he didn't know. So some of my scary stories, I sold him probably 100 over time. So he tried to convince me that he was a singer and that he had hired these musicians from LA, and they had done this super album, and he sent me a bunch of tracks. It was all AI, and
Oh
he would not
God.
admit it. So I cut all my dealings with him away, even though it cost me some money.
Wow.
because he's lying.
Sure.
I know AI when I hear it. If it sounds like a really super good Nickelback, it's
Yeah.
AI.
I
So
totally get it, man.
people hated AI, right? But they're making music. Or they hated Nickelback. Supposed to be the most hated band other than Creed, maybe. But when they do AI now, it sounds like
Yeah,
Creed and it sounds like Nickelback.
it's true.
So
Yeah.
I don't get people. I'm beginning to have less and less in common with them.
Totally understand that. You just mentioned relevance. Did you ever imagine Bride would still be talked about this, decades later? Just it's been so long.
No, no. Troy and I were very realistic. We saw bands come and bands go, so we figured each year was the last year, but then we'd do something else. And not to say that Troy and I aren't still writing. We'll still release some songs, but we're not releasing any more albums. Not we're not now. If we release 10 songs onto Spotify or wherever they go, and a record company wants those 10 songs, they can pay me a hefty sum and they can have those 10 songs and do with them whatever they want. But yeah, I mean, we are still around because God wanted us to be around, and we've made a difference. And I don't know the difference we're making now compared to what we could be doing in other areas of our life. So we need to be doing what we can do best in the kingdom of God. Uh, and even if Bride isn't mentioned, that's fine.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned a new record coming out soon. Is there any dates for that, or any information regarding that record coming out soon?
Oh, the
Yeah.
Boondogs. The Boondogs. No, I'm waiting till Austin is mixing an album now for my niece, Troy's daughter. She's a professional musician, so he's doing an album for her now. And then I told him we weren't in a big hurry, so when he gets done with that and a couple other things, then Austin's going to focus getting the rest of the Boondogs material uh, put into the mixing machine, and he's going to mix it, and we should be ready. So it'll be a few months, I think, but I'm not for sure about the other albums. Still recording with Theo Throne. I think we got 3 more songs to do, or 4. Randy Swingle, the Ordained album, it's ready after he gets the last few songs mixed. Um, but yeah, I think we are resolute. I might have 1 or 2 more songs to sing with him if he has me sing on them. He may not. Brian's become friends with a lot of people now, so he can have anybody he wants to sing on his albums. I'm thankful he chose me, so if he wants me to sing some more, that's great. A lot of things I'm putting brakes on now, because I was doing a lot of free stuff. Oh, there's a Perpetual Paranoia album
Oh,
being
cool.
mixed right now too, so I forgot about that. That was with Tiago, hand to fire, they say. But yeah, we are at where we're at because that's where we're supposed to be, and the next few steps will put us in a completely different direction than where we were heading. So that's I'm just anxious to see what it's going to
Yeah,
involve.
absolutely. When people hear the name Bride, or Dale Thompson for that matter, 50 years from now, what do you hope they remember about the band and about you?
I hope that they cannot remember my name, and I hope they cannot remember Bride, and I hope they say there was a band. They had this singer, and I can't remember who it is, but he talked about Jesus, and that changed my life.
Yeah,
But I can't remember who that was. But anyway, that type of thing.
absolutely.
I must decrease so that he can increase.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's the key. It might be within 2 years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Dale, I know you can't predict the future, but what do you think the future looks like for you?
I'm just going to sit back and count my money, I guess. No, I'm hoping that my literary work takes off. I write 8 to 10 hours a day. Uh, I'm back exercising again, lifting weights and stuff again. I'm a bit healthier than I was, so I take a little time out for that during the day and walk my dogs. I do the normal thing, but I write constantly. My wife, she works for the school system, and
Mm.
I'm retired, so I get to draw the Social Security, and and I've invested well. So I just think that I just need to keep writing whatever comes to my mind, and whether it's horror or a thriller or Christian fiction or whatever it is, sci-fi, I just keep writing it, and hopefully people will be interested. I would hate to think the day when people stop reading, and it's getting worse and worse. People, it takes a little effort to read. For me, I love, it's not work for me to read. For some people, it's work. They have to force themselves to read. And it's because they've forgotten what their childlike imaginations were. And I still have a childlike imagination where I can look outside and when we were kids, I can see us still out there playing and playing army and riding our bikes and making up things that aren't there, but seeing them as plain as that, we're looking at one another. And I still do that to this day. My imagination is alive. It's lively. It's imaginative. It's creative, and I just want to keep sourcing that out. So
Yeah. Well, Dale, I've super enjoyed talking to you and enjoyed this conversation. Super honored to have you spend some time with me and come on the podcast and just kind of bring me through your journey. Really appreciate all the music you've been a part of over the years. That's really influenced me, and I know some people have listened to this podcast. But again, I really appreciate you hanging out with me, and thank you so much for everything, Dale.
it's my pleasure, and thank you that you've asked me on. I put the call out and said, "Hey, anybody that wants me to give my version of events, what I witnessed at the scene of the crime,
Yeah.
they better come now while I still have a memory to drag it from the dredges of my core." So,
Well, I appreciate you, like I said, hanging out, and hope things go well for you with these new records. Hey, listener, thank you so much for tuning in again and again. I really appreciate it. It's been awesome to be on this journey with you guys, so thank you again for that. Thank you for listening week in and week out. If you'd like to add me on Instagram and Facebook at The Rumors Are Truecast, if you would like to like and subscribe, you know the drill. Thank you so much to Dale Thompson. Super honored to have you on the podcast to bring me through your journey and hear your stories just over the years. Been an influence on my life with the band Bride, so really appreciate you hanging out with me, Dale. Got some incredible artists on the horizon, guys, and you know it. Nostalgia is still a heck of a drug. The podcast is produced by Wesley Hill, artwork by Jared Chase Bowser, and music by Brian Jaron. This episode is dedicated to the memory of my dear friend, producer, and man of many talents, Brian Jaron.